Hey guys, Panther back with another video, and today I will be talking about 18 movies in one review. This is probably my biggest video I've done. I'm going to be talking about the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe right now, all the way from the beginning to Iron Man, all the way to their latest release of Black Panther. So without further ado, let's start the review.
When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's alright. I'm hooked on a feeling, I'm high on believing.
So let's begin with the first one, Iron Man. Iron Man was the one that set it up from the beginning, and I actually really like this movie. It had a lot of great writing, great acting from Robert Downey Jr., a lot of cool action sequences. Jeff Bridges as Ironmonger is probably one of the more underrated villains of the MCU. I honestly really did dig this movie. Like, this is a movie that a lot of people didn't expect to like, and now it's one of the highest rated comic book movies of all time. And had it not been for The Dark Knight, this would be my favorite movie of 2008. I honestly love the movie, and the post-credit scene is probably one of the best Marvel post-credit scenes ever. So, Iron Man, I really love this movie. Incredible Hulk. When I first watched this movie when I was younger, I wasn't really too huge on it, but revisiting it, I think it is a better movie. It still has flaws, but I do think that the movie is solid. Like, there's some good action sequences, some good pacing, and I really like the character of Hulk along with Ross, and all the motivation makes sense. But the movie does still suffer from a not that great story. Abomination is not really... Well, I wouldn't really say he's a terrible villain, but he's definitely an underwhelming villain. And there's still a lot of stuff that I would have done different story-wise. Iron Man 2, I'll be honest, I don't like this movie. This is definitely the worst MCU movie. There are definitely a few positives. For example, some of the action sequences. The post-credit scene is probably my favorite scene in the movie, where Phil Coulson drives up and sees Thor's hammer. And yeah, that was a pretty good scene. And Robert Downey Jr. is good as always, as is Samuel L. Jackson. The film still does suffer from being confusing and boring. Whiplash is a bad villain. I don't like the character of Justin Hammer. And the movie didn't have a great story, and some of the actors didn't really seem like they were into the movie. And yeah, overall, Iron Man 2 is definitely the weakest MCU movie. Thor is it's definitely a solid movie, not perfect, but for example, it can get boring at times. Frost Giants were underwhelming. I didn't like the character of Darcy, but there were a lot of stuff that I did like. For example, Chris Hemsworth in the movie. I also like Loki. The action sequences were good, and the story, when it wasn't boring, I was actually hooked on. And yeah, I definitely do think Thor is a solid entry into the MCU. Captain America: The First Avenger. This movie was definitely a really good movie. I think it's the worst in the Captain America trilogy, but that's not taking anything away from it. The movie is cool, with great action sequences. Chris Evans has a great performance as Captain America. I like how they snuck in a little Avengers trailer after the credits. And yeah, I mean, it's not perfect, but for example, there is a lot of the bit of predictability, and also some scenes that didn't feel real, and some cliches here and there, but overall I do think that this is a good movie. Avengers, what Phase 1 has been leading up to with the Iron Man movies, Thor, Captain America, and Hulk. It was all leading up to this, and if they screwed one thing up, this would have been a huge disappointment. Luckily they didn't, and this is another case where if Batman hadn't come out that year, this would be my favorite movie of that year. Because Avengers was amazing. And, like, with the great actions, beautiful visuals, the characters were really good, and, like, I remember seeing it for the first time in theaters, absolutely loving it. And there's also some good humor, a great soundtrack, and overall, Avengers is my favorite movie in Phase 1. So now we're moving on to Phase 2, we got Iron Man 3. And yeah, the Mandarin twist is stupid, and there's a lot of other story flaws. But really, this is actually a damn good movie, because Robert Downey Jr. is great as Iron Man, and the other performances were good. Like, obviously, yeah, the Mandarin twist, that sucked. And there are also some story flaws, but really, it's not that bad anywhere else, because it's a technically good movie. The visuals, another great soundtrack, good performances, and overall, I really like Iron Man 3. But now we get into Thor's Dark World. I don't like this movie. This movie, I thought was, well, okay, like, this movie isn't horrible. Like, I think it's better than Iron Man 2, but it is still, like, boring, over serious. Darcy is worse than she was in the first Thor, and, like, a lot of the characters they didn't care for. I mean, there is still a lot of fun to be had with the action sequences, but, like, really, you have to just get through the movie. Loki, though, was definitely the best part, and yeah, but overall, this is kind of a forgettable movie. Captain America the Winter Soldier is another great one. I really liked how they were able to incorporate Falcon and Black Widow and Nick Fury into the movie. I'll admit, though, the movie did feel a little predictable and overlong, but still, that doesn't take away from the great action sequences, the good story, and I really did enjoy the hell out of Captain America the Winter Soldier. Guardians of the Galaxy. This is my favorite movie in Phase 2, and my second favorite movie in the MCU, because the movie has a soundtrack so good, I own it on the same phone that I am using to record this video. It also has funny humor, great writing, great characters. It's definitely a great way to take something that you wouldn't really expect to be good and just flip it upside down, kind of like something that they did in Volume 2. And overall, I just thought this was a really good movie. Avengers Age of Ultron. A lot of people just push this movie aside despite having been one of the most anticipated movies of 2015. And I honestly really did like it. If it wasn't for, like, how the story was a bit underwhelming and Ultron was a bit underwhelming, this movie would have been an A+ for me. But those flaws are still there, because the movie still does have some great action, good writing. I really liked all the characters in the movie, even if Ultron was a bit underwhelming. But still, this movie is quality, and I definitely do highly recommend it, especially for anyone who liked the first movie. Ant-Man is a movie that I wasn't really expecting too much out of. Like, I was expecting enough out of, because, like, Guardians of the Galaxy was great, Iron Man was great, and yeah, and this movie is honestly my second favorite movie of 2015, because this movie has great humor. Paul Rudd is great as Ant-Man. I really like the writing of this movie, and like the way they were able to make something that would seem lame on paper and make it really good. This movie was written by Edgar Wright, and it shows. I mean, Edgar Wright has admitted that he'll never see this movie, and I can kind of understand why, but like, if Edgar Wright, if this changes your mind, this movie is a great movie, and I definitely do highly recommend it for anyone that likes the superhero genre and likes to be surprised. So now we're on to Phase 3 with Captain America Civil War, which is my favorite MCU film, and honestly, it would probably go into my top 5 favorite movies of all time. Because this movie is great, like, beautiful storytelling, underrated cinematography. You can understand the side of both Captain America and Iron Man. Honestly, the fact that this movie didn't get an Oscar nomination still pisses me off to this day, because cinematography and visual effects should have been a lock, but guess not, and yeah. but still definitely one of the best movies ever made. Doctor Strange. This movie is solid. There were some parts that had me bored and thrown off guard, but there were still also some moments that were funny. I really did like some stuff about the story. Benedict Cumberbatch was good as Doctor Strange. The visuals look good. The villain I didn't really like in this movie. But still, I did feel the movie was also a bit predictable, and yeah, but definitely do check Doctor Strange out. It is a solid movie. For Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I did talk about this in a previous podcast. The link will be in the description below. Spider-Man Homecoming, I made a separate review of that. Review will also be in the description. Thor Ragnarok. People have been calling it one of the best MCU movies, and I can honestly see why. Like, the first two Thor movies were serious. Ragnarok was not a lot of comedy. This movie actually was pretty funny. Jeff Goldblum as the Game Master was good, as was, what's her name? Kate Blanchett as, the villain, and I definitely do recommend it. The only problem I have with the movie, though, is the CGI on Hulk. Other than that, the movie was great, and definitely check it out. It's the best Thor movie. And now we're moving on to the final movie, Black Panther, and I cannot wait for PC Cinephile to say that, to see this, because this movie is a great movie. There's a lot of great things in it. The soundtrack is awesome. I own it on my phone too. I also really like the visual aspects of the movie. Everyone had an excellent performance, especially Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger. And yeah, and the reason I said I can't wait for PC Cinephile to see this is because I did have a couple flaws with the movie. I thought the pacing was a bit slow, and in the beginning there's a scene where I was thinking, nobody saw that? But yeah, in the end, I do think it's a great movie. So I'm going to give Iron Man an A+. Incredible Hulk a B. Iron Man 2 a C-. Thor a B. Captain America's First Avenger a B+. Avengers an A+. Iron Man 3 an A-. Thor the Dark World C. Captain America the Winter Soldier an A-. Guardians of the Galaxy an A+. Avengers Age of Ultron an A. Ant-Man an A+. Captain America Civil War an A+. Doctor Strange a B. I'm sticking with an A- for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I'm sticking with an A for Spider-Man Homecoming. Thor Ragnarok an A. And Black Panther an A.